Italy lost more than simply a vocalist when Ornella Vanoni died at the age of 91. It lost a voice, a symbol, and a memory that had been a part of the country's emotional landscape for over 70 years. A chapter that started long before many of today's listeners were even born came to an end with her passing. It was a chapter full of art, grace, tenacity, and the kind of presence that very few artists in the world are able to attain. Even though she had passed away naturally, her legacy lives on in the halls of Italian music and in the hearts of millions of people who loved her. Cardiac arrest was a straightforward medical cause of death, but it carried a huge emotional burden. Her demise felt like the soft dimming of a light that had lighted the world of European music for generations, following months of deteriorating health and fewer public appearances. However, Ornella Vanoni's story goes far beyond the day she departed from us. Her path to this point has been lengthy, rich, and very human. As the narrative draws to a close, it is hard to avoid thinking carefully about Ornella Vanoni's last chapter of life, particularly the reason behind her death. The renowned Italian singer passed away at the age of 91 from cardiac arrest, a sudden stoppage of the heart that frequently occurs silently, unexpectedly, and without giving loved ones time to get ready. The emotional burden of losing a woman whose voice had brought life to the world for over 70 years is hidden behind those two simple technical terms. Not all cases of cardiac arrest are spectacular. It comes slowly to many elderly individuals. After a lifetime of beating, loving, singing, and supporting the person through every joy and sorrow, the heart just becomes weary. Because of this, Ornella's death is both tragic and serene. Her death was a silent conclusion to a novel that had already been masterfully written, rather than the result of agony or protracted pain. It was the last instant of a heart that had given its all. The thought of Ornella's heart stopping seems meaningful to someone whose voice, passion, and strength became emblems of Italian music. Every song she recorded was filled with emotion from the same heart. The same heart that got her through breakups, celebrity, praise, criticism, and victory. The same heart that made it possible for her to perform for her audience one more time, even when she was exhausted or in pain. Even the strongest hearts, however, eventually require relaxation. Those close to her reported that she had become more reserved and introspective in the weeks leading up to her death. She chuckled quietly, spoke slowly, and frequently talked about her early career and childhood. Her body began to slow down, but her intellect stayed acute. She was 91, an age that conveys both fragility and wisdom. She was still calm and proud, but her health had declined. The lifelong heart has started to exhibit signs of aging. The cardiac arrest occurred, abruptly, calmly, and without disturbance. She wasn't in a hospital bed and wasn't in pain. Instead, she was at home and surrounded by comfort. It was, in a sense, the peaceful, dignified, and painless goodbye she deserved. Ornella Vanoni was an elegant woman. Thus it is somewhat appropriate that her last moments were delicate. However, knowing what caused her death does not lessen the sadness. Fans felt a profound feeling of loss, both in Italy and worldwide. It is like losing a piece of history and the spirit of a country when someone like Ornella passes away. Her passing serves as a reminder of a universal truth. Even the strongest voices eventually go quiet, and even the brightest lights must eventually dim. But her music fills the void she leaves behind. Her music is still played in homes, cafes, radios, and recollections. The warmth her heart previously generated is still present in her voice, which is gentle yet powerful. Although cardiac arrest may have been the cause of her death, passion, tenacity, and an unquenchable love of art were the causes of her life. An early roots and art-shaped life. Milan, a city renowned for its fashion, culture, and creative vibes, is where Ornella Vanoni was born. Her upbringing in a creative environment, theater, music, and literature naturally shaped her into a performer. Long before she ever took a formal step onto a stage, people could sense her poise and presence even as a little child. Her first aspirations were to become an actress rather than a singer. She put a lot of effort into her training, learning about performance and theater, and absorbing the emotional strategies that would eventually shape her musical interpretation. Milan's renowned theatrical culture served as her classroom, influencing how she interacted with audiences and conveyed emotion. Ornella discovered her soul in the theater. However, the world discovered her through music. Her voice uncovered, transforming from stage to song. Ornella did not immediately switch from acting to singing, nor was it anticipated. However, people started to notice her voice because it was rich, textured, slightly husky, and very expressive. She had a unique talent for singing honestly and fusing quiet confidence with vulnerability. She quickly realized what her admirers would eventually applaud about her. She was able to live inside her song rather than just execute it. Her early recordings were straightforward, unadorned, and intensely sentimental. The audiences reacted right away. Her vocals had a raw, personal quality that gave listeners the impression that she was singing to them alone. Her musical personality was shaped by the theatrical teachings she learned about phrasing, breath control, and emotional discipline. She gradually started to fully enter the realm of music, and she never left after entering it. An Italian icon's rise. For Ornella Vanoni, the 1,960 seconds and 1,970 seconds were pivotal years. Italy has a thriving music culture with many talented musicians who would go on to become legends. Ornella, however, stood out. Her voice produced mood, emotion, and space rather than following fads. She blended sweetness and depth, grace and sorrow. Her songs frequently featured themes of introspection, longing, and quiet strength. She didn't use theatrical high notes or vocal gimmicks. Rather, she employed genuineness, tone, and texture. Her music was more felt than heard by the audience. She eventually became proficient in a variety of genres, including pop ballads, songs with jazz influences, bossa nova, and even experimental sounds. Because of her adaptability, her profession was able to span generations and change continuously without losing its authenticity. Her greatest singles combined poignant narration with traditional Italian melody. Her songs struck a profound chord with many admirers at times of love, grief, or introspection. Decade after decade, she remained relevant because of that relationship. A woman with character, style, and courage. Almost as important as Ornella Vanoni's voice was her persona. She exuded a tremendous yet quiet confidence. Her distinctive red hair, her expressive eyes, and her graceful demeanor all contributed to her public persona. She had no fear about growing older. She didn't conceal herself behind childish delusions. Rather, she welcomed the experience and talked openly about life, errors, regrets, and resiliency. Even younger generations who might not have grown up with her music could relate to her because of her candor. She also dealt with emotional difficulties, public pressure, romantic setbacks, and personal hardships, but she handled them gracefully. Her admirers respected her as a lady who lived fully, courageously, and honestly in addition to her artistic abilities. Later years, a peaceful period and a gentle decline. Ornella increasingly retreated from the fast-paced nature of her early profession as she grew older. She never really vanished, though. She continued to be a cultural figure, cooperated with new artists, performed sparingly, and made appearances on discussion shows. However, as people aged, their health naturally deteriorated. Her heart began to weaken. Her enthusiasm diminished. She was candid about her need for relaxation and her love of peaceful living. Her body started subtly signaling that the last chapters of her lengthy trip were approaching, even as she continued to have a sharp mind and sense of humor. Her last years were calm, contemplative, and full of acceptance, according to friends. She cherished her house, her recollections, and life's leisurely pace. She frequently talked about being thankful for her experiences, her work, her admirers, her joys, and her tragedies. The end of a wonderful life. Ornella's cardiac problems worsened in the last weeks before she died. Her condition steadily deteriorated even though she was still at home and surrounded by familiar surroundings. She had a heart arrest on a calm day, and before medical assistance could bring her back to life, she passed away. Her passing was mild and in line with the tone of her later years, rather than dramatic or abrupt in the emotional sense. Her departure was quiet, dignified, and gentle for an artist who had lived fully, loudly, and beautifully. Italy grieved. Fans around Europe grieved. She seemed to have taken a piece of their own past with her, according to many who grew up listening to her. The legacy remaining. The emotional fabric that Ornella Vanoni woven into Italian society is just as much a part of her legacy as her music. She departs from 1. An eternal voice. Her distinctive voice can still be heard in homes, cafes, radio stations, and movie soundtracks. 2. An artistic longevity model. She was unique in the music industry in that she continued to be relevant for over 50 years. 3. A sign of genuineness. She taught generations how to tell the truth in a noisy environment, how to be attractive without pretension, and how to age with dignity. 4. A bridge across time. She was a truly generational artist whose work affected parents, grandparents, and kids alike. 5. A treasure of culture. Ornella Vanoni emerged as one of Italy's most influential artists, and the country's identity is closely linked to its cultural output. Alas consideration. Few artists are able to live the kind of life that Ornella Vanoni did. She started off as an inquisitive young woman in Milan, discovered her musical voice, had a remarkable career, and left behind an artistic legacy that would endure long after her death. Her passing at the age of 91 serves as a reminder that while life is fleeting, true art endures forever. Ornella Vanoni made sure that her story would never fade by recording every melody, expressing every emotion, and touching every heart. Even though she is no longer physically present, her voice continues to inspire, console, and travel. A last farewell to Ornella Vanoni. One thing becomes evident as the story comes to a close. Bidding farewell to Ornella Vanoni is more than just bidding farewell to a singer. It's a farewell to a piece of Italian soul, a voice that created memories, and a woman whose singing contained decades worth of emotion. Her life ended peacefully at the age of 91, but her influence endures, unaffected by age or time. For almost 70 years, Ornella's voice served as a bridge, bridging generations, transcending genre and style boundaries, and connecting with audiences in a way that seemed uncommon in the entertainment industry. She wasn't a mask-wearing artist. She lived fearlessly, honestly, and completely. She allowed her experiences to influence both her music and the culture in which she lived. Fans will always remember that bravery. Italy stopped as word of her death spread. Her music may be heard in homes, radio stations, cafes, and streets. When they first heard her, everybody recalled where they were. Others recalled how her music supported them during times of loneliness, heartbreak, or introspection. This is the kind of impact that is irreplaceable. Only genuine artists leave such a legacy. Her cause of death, a straightforward cardiac arrest, seems insignificant in light of the remarkable life she led. Perhaps that's the beauty of her last chapter, though. In the comfort of her own home, she quietly and drama-free departed from this world. Her departure was soft for someone whose presence was always powerful, audacious, and unforgettable. It was quiet. It was the quiet, humble, and sincere kind of conclusion she frequently discussed. Throughout her lengthy life, she demonstrated to the world that art is ageless. She demonstrated to aspiring artists that it is possible to develop, change, and still be authentic. She demonstrated to her elder supporters that growing older is a new perspective on life rather than a loss. She also demonstrated to everyone that genuineness would always have greater influence than perfection. Italy's cultural identity was shaped by Ornella's laughter, self-assurance, expressive eyes, red hair, and voice, which was consistently warm and slightly husky. People trusted her in addition to listening to her. Many people, including those she had never met, made friends with her. That's what makes music magical. It unites souls without the need for introductions. Her songs have fresh significance now that she is no longer among us. They have the feel of old letters, memories preserved by song. Long after this generation is gone, her voice will still find new listeners. The same feelings that her early admirers experienced decades ago will be shared by young people who are finding her for the first time. An artist whose creations endure long after the artist has passed away is the real testament to a legend. There is more to this final note than just a farewell. It is an expression of gratitude. I'm grateful to a woman who led a passionate life. I'm grateful to an artist who remained authentic. We are grateful to a voice that influenced history. We are grateful to a person who sacrificed so much for her craft, her audience, and her nation. Even though Ornella Vanoni is no longer with us, her music continues to travel the world in a gentle, exquisite, and timeless manner. Her song continues, but her story is finished. Ornella, may you rest in peace. There will never be a fading in your voice. Although her last chapter is over, her melody endures indefinitely,